Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving a kind of general guide on how to beat most of the Crazed Cat stages since I now have Lizard, Crazed Lizard, and Crazed Cow Cat now. Which is pretty good because Crazed Cow is a very good rusher that has a lot of health, although unfortunately it does like zero damage, so I'm still not going to use him over like Swimmer Cat for now. And I also got Crazed Lizard, which is pretty good. I'm probably am going to use him once I level him up because he's probably one of the only long-range non-Uber units I have. So yeah. But anyways, let's talk about the actual strategy I use to beat most of the Crazed stages, because I beat quite a number of them now. And I will say that for Crazed Cat and Crazed Tank, you don't really need a huge strategy. You honestly, if as long as you just have like decently long range, like high DPS units that have a decent amount of health, you should be okay. And like a good amount of meat shields as well. This is why I'm going to show like this deck, or this like equips, whatever, but you want a lot of meat shields basically. You can replace, a lot of people already probably don't have like Crazed Cat, like the regular one, especially if you haven't even started on any of the Craze stages. So replace him with like Samba Cat or just another really cheap meat shield that has a decent amount of health, to just basically stall the Crazed Cats as much as possible so you can get your Bahamut in there and then he can just do a huge amount of damage. Because that's what you mainly want. You want, especially on just Crazed Cat and Crazed Tank, those are very easy as long as you just have really high damage dealers like a Bahamut or another like really good unit, or like a really good like super rare. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling my words, but you get the point. You just need a lot of meat shields and then some good high DPS attackers that have a decent amount of range. For example, like Paris Cat, or once you get like or not crazy, Crazed Sexy Legs Cat, then you can use him. I will say, however, that all these videos that are talking about like how to beat it as well, while I am not going into like specifics on how to, automatically beat like every single one of these without continues, I will say that if you have a deck that you know is good enough and you know did a lot of damage to the Crazed Cats on the first run, but you still lose, I do recommend using the free add continue, because that's what I've used several times for Crazed Sexy Legs Cat, and I only really had to use, or yeah, Crazed Sexy Legs Cat, because I only really had to use it because I don't really have any units to block wave immunity. And that's also what you need. You just need to know what these units will do in the first place. So again, with the Crazed Sexy Legs Cat, you need something, at least one unit that is immune to waves, basically, or at least doesn't take as much damage. So fortunately, I like Phono, so I can just try to get him to do as much damage as possible to the Crazed Sexy Legs Cats before they, stack up and then just have this like infinite amount of waves that completely destroy all my units, because otherwise, they're just going to charge through and completely destroy your base every time. But that's why, again, these free continues are so important, because they give you all the money you need, they give you a max cat wallet, and they charge up your cannon for free. So yeah, it's very important. If you know you did a bunch of damage on the first go, then you can just do an entire second push with them already at that low health. It's very good. However, I don't really recommend spending 30 cat food on the continue, because I would, at that point, just save up and try to get about 1,500 for the 11 cat draws for the gacha, so you can get like a guaranteed Uber at some points. So yeah, and also just a better chance at getting like better cats in general. So yeah, as I said, just you want high damage attackers. And for the rest of the Crazed stages, for like Crazed Cow, you also need just a ranged cat that does a good amount of damage. So stuff like Paris Cat that does area attack is very important. Just basically a tank that does a lot of area attack damage. That's what you mainly want for Crazed Cow, and just one that, again, like an uber super rare, kind of like Phono, that has like a wave attack or an area attack that does a lot of damage. You mainly want that. You still want to use Bahamut. I do recommend using basically Bahamut for almost every single Crazed Cat stage, because these guys are tanky as all hell. Even the ones that don't come out that do come out in like waves and stuff instead of just one crazed cat unit. Even those are very, very tanky, and you still want, even though Bahamut does have a very, very long attack cooldown, he is still very important for a lot of pushes. So I do recommend just keeping him in your deck, unless you have two extremely strong Ubers, of course. But yeah, again, besides that, you don't really need much else. You mainly, for the other stages like Crazed Cow or like the other crazed stages, you want to basically save up your money at the start so you can then, once they get close to your base, the crazed cat, because for these like tanky stages, you're going to want to preserve as much money as possible. So then you can charge at full speed while they're like close to your base. Because if they're far away from your base, trust me, I've learned this. If you just keep sending out meat shields all the time, you're just going to be wasting money. When they're close to your base, it's very, very easy to just stack up a lot of units and do a fuck ton of damage. Meanwhile, when they're very far away, they're going to be spread out, they're not going to do as much damage at once, and they're just going to all die one by one by one, and they're just going to charge through. I've especially learned that in the Cowcat stage. It's really important to manage your money carefully there. But as I said, you can also just use the free continue. That's what I used on Crazed Whale. I used that on Crazed Sexy Legs Cat, and I used that on Crazed Cow Cat. I used just the free continue there, and it worked out well for me. As long as you just have high enough level units that do good damage, you should be okay as long as you just preserve your money at the start. That is probably the most important thing. You want to preserve your money and just up your cat wallet to a sufficient level and then start to push. Because if you don't, then as I said, your high attack units will just be spread apart. They'll all die one by one because they aren't all attacking at the same time, and they're just gonna, they're just gonna charge your base and you're done. So, yeah, that is basically it. This deck is pretty good, I would say, for a generalist deck to take out a lot of the Crazed Cats. For stuff like Crazed Flying, I've heard that you definitely need something that attacks floating. Unfortunately, I do have Sadako Cat, so I definitely will use him on Crazed Flying. And funnily enough, I did get Crazed Whale Cat mainly because I just spammed Ubers. And that also is a strategy as well. If nothing else is working for you, but you know you have amazing Ubers, if you just use the free continue and get a lot of money, and if you have like a really, really good cat wallet, you can just spam a lot of Ubers and stall the cats, especially like the very tanky ones, as I said, like Crazed Whale. You can just stall them for a very, very long time in order to wait for the cooldown and then just pop another one and just eventually kill him. It takes a while, and it did take a very long time for me to kill Crazed Whale, but that's how I got him first, before even the standard Crazed Cat. Like, it is very, very good to have, very powerful Ubers. And one site I do recommend using is My Gamatoto. That is very useful for looking up stats. I use it all the time. Just to know if a unit you have is good or not. And yeah, that is basically it. Again, just have a lot of meat shields, have a lot of good attackers, and have good Uber rares ready at just ready in general for you to push out at the correct time. I know, again, this isn't super Uber specific, but that's also because I don't want to waste energy on a stage that I already beat. I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not that type of person. I still need to grind the treasures and Into the Future Chapter 1, all right? But yeah, I did get all the treasure and all the Emperor Cat stages, fortunately, all the superior ones as well, so I'm okay with that. But again, I still need the Into the Future Chapter 1, like all those superior treasures, so I'm still grinding for that. But again, once I get that, I'll start to go further into the game. Again, now that I have these other Crazed Cats as well. I did also get another Uber super rare since the last video, Windy, which is actually very good and actually very helpful for the Crazed Flying stage, because, she attacks floating very, very well. So, yeah, that is basically it. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.